Good morning, puzzlers. We are live in Portland, Oregon. I'm Elenia Cater, and I'm here with
Rob Shields.
And we are so excited to be here with the Portland Jigsaw Masters today. It is a beautiful day in Portland. I think for maybe some of you locals, you might think it's a little warm.
It's a little on the warm side. It's supposed to be in the 90s today.
But for me, coming all the way from Texas, I felt like it was cool. I actually even have a jacket on the back of my chair in case I get too cold. So for me, it was a nice little respite from the heat coming out here to Portland.
Yeah, well, it would have been. You probably would have felt a little more at home yesterday. I think you got here yesterday, but it was in the hundreds yesterday, day before. So you're coming during the cooler parts.
Yeah, don't blame me for bringing the heat though. But I think the puzzlers are going to bring the heat today. What do you think?
Absolutely, yes. I appreciate the way that you segued those things together.
Doing my best.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great puzzlers here today. Definitely some folks who are great on the national and international stage, and even here in Heat 1 of the individuals, we've got fire all across the puzzling floor. So we should see some exciting and interesting, fast competition right from the get-go.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this first heat. It seems like it's going to be a really, really strong one. I'm actually surprised that all of these really strong puzzlers are going to be here competing in this very first individual preliminary this morning. Can you tell me a little bit more about who we should be watching in this first heat?
Absolutely. So we've got Andrea Peng, who's I think fourth in the last Worlds, in the highest ranking U.S. person to ever finish in the World competition.
It's amazing.
We've got the Reuter sisters, Kathy and Jean. Just phenomenal puzzlers out of Washington. We've got Jessa Douglas, who is a both great individual and strong pairs player, and also was second place in the Nationals puzzle chess competition. And then, not to be discounted, Minyi Ding, who will be is also an international competitor, be part of the power teams we will see later. So those are just some of the folks in this particular heat that are on the sort of national and international stage that are ones to watch out for.
That's awesome. I'm super excited to see all of these competitors. I know we also have, what do we have? We have about 40 competitors today in this first heat.
That's right.
You know, aside from these 5 that you've spotlighted, you know, who knows? There could be a sleeper.
I love sleepers. We had that with the national competition this year with Alice Rowe, who showed up just unannounced and dominated both of the speed puzzling individuals as well as the puzzle chess. She was the winner of the puzzle chess competition. So I always like myself a good unknown just coming out of nowhere. A couple of years or last Worlds, Andrea Peng was that person. She came out of nowhere to, like I said, be fourth, the highest ever finishing U.S. person in the nationals competition. So those kinds of folks are out there, and as the puzzling world expands, as more and more people hear about speed puzzling, we get more and more people who are like, hey, wait, I've always been sort of told I'm kind of good at this. Maybe I'll give it a try.
Yep.
And they do, and then you get the ones who just suddenly are world dominant, and it's a joy to see those kinds of stories. That being said, I still cheer for the folks that I love, that you see all the time, who are great competitors and great people. Although that is most of the puzzle community, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes. If anyone's watching the Olympics right now, we all love cheering for the GOATs, and those favorites. It's hard not to cheer for Simone, or Katie Ledecky, or some of those people that are, they're just so amazing at what they do. You know that they're going to win, but then it's so great to see those underdogs and those people just come out of nowhere and win. So that's super fun too. So it'll be fun to watch today and see what happens
as the day unfolds. I know that we've got a few people in so we have the Portland Puzzle folks put on a weekly puzzling league. So Portland Puzzle Company, one of the primary sponsors of this event and the people who are putting this on, they put on a weekly league. There's a singles doubles night, and then there's a team night. And I am super excited to see some of the people that I see on a weekly basis who I think are world class make their debut in this sort of major puzzling competition, and see how they do compared to folks who are, like I said, number 1 in the world or number 4 in the world. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how Portland represents.
Awesome. For those who may be joining us and who are new to speed puzzling, in the world of speed puzzling, can you kind of explain to the people who are joining what speed puzzling is?
Absolutely. Speed puzzling is the nail-biting sport. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it.
Go for it. I would agree with you.
Where everybody gets a puzzle. They get in this case, we'll be starting off with a 300 piece, but in the world competition, they do as much as 2,500 pieces for teams. Everybody gets the same puzzle. A timer starts. The first one to finish wins. And so it's as simple as that. You would imagine that, the same people win over and over again, but the puzzle has a lot to do with it. What the art is on the puzzle leans into some people's strengths and leans out of other people's strengths. So it can be really kind of a nail biter watching people. I love it as a spectator sport. I am a at best average puzzler, but I am a above average puzzle watcher. Every time we have thought, my wife and I, every time we have thought we were going to be bored by watching a speed puzzling competition, we were not able to rip ourselves away from that. But puzzling, the speed puzzling in and itself, pretty straightforward. The first person across the first person to finish is the one who wins.
Awesome. Looks like we are about to get started. I don't know how much more time we have, but we're coming up. The actual event is going to start at 11 o'clock, so we're about 6 minutes away from the individual preliminaries 1. But I think we're about to get started with all the official announcements and rules, so that may be coming up very, very shortly. So we're going to kick that off in just a minute. But while we're waiting, Rob, can you tell people a little bit more about your podcast in case people are wanting to learn more about the puzzling world?
Absolutely. So my podcast is called Peace Talks. It is definitely for the puzzle nerd, but it is an exploration of what got the world-class puzzlers to where they are and how they keep being where they are. What kind of practice routines do they do? How do they approach different parts of the puzzles as they do them? It is definitely... I think it's a good time. We have a great conversation both about things that they have done along the way and how they continue to maintain their world-class elite status. How they continue to practice. I occasionally get tips that even I can take away from it and apply to my puzzling. I think is it Lane? Are you waiting for us to pause here?
We're ready whenever you are.
All right, we're going to cut over to Lane from Portland Puzzles. They are one of the main sponsors of this event, and we're going to cut it over to him so that he can kick off our individual preliminaries Heat 1.
Take it away, Lane.
Okay, everybody, welcome to individual prelim 1. We're going to go over a few minor things, rules, and just procedures. Make sure everybody understands what's going on. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Let us know. We want to answer that. The first thing is we'll walk you through. We're going to do a countdown. It starts at 5, and we're going to count it down. Then we are going to, once you get the go-ahead, open the bag that you have. Go ahead and throw the bag on the floor. Get it away from you. We will have floor monitors that are coming through to watch. Pick those up. Anything else that you want to throw on the floor, just go ahead and do it. Get it out of the way. Make sure you have plenty of puzzling area and to do sort or whatever, however it is that you put it together. Basically, the rules are simple. Just put the puzzle together as fast as you can. This one is a 300-piece puzzle, so it might go pretty quick, but you have a reference inside. You should be able to use to help you. Once you get to for those of you who, if you get to the end, you have an hour. How long do we have here on this one? 2 hours, right? You have 2 hours to put it together. If for any reason you get to the end and you don't have it all together, if you have 3 interlocking pieces together, they count. Okay? So once we stop, what's going to happen is if you haven't done that, we'll count the 3 interlocking pieces as put together. We'll then count the individual pieces that you do have, and those will be subtracted from the 300. So that'll kind of give you an order of finish. In terms of the spectators, one of the things I'd like to ask for spectators that are here, please do not come into the floor area. We've got camera guys coming, floor monitors in there. We've got these lights. Just please don't come inside the area where they're puzzling. And if you can, keep 3 to 5 feet or so away from the edges. And you're more than welcome to walk around. But one of the important things is we want everybody to be able to concentrate on their puzzle. What am I missing? I think that's it. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions? If you do have a cell phone and you're a spectator, if you can just put it on mute. There you go. If you could put it on mute, that would be great. We'd appreciate it. One thing that's going to be a little bit different than maybe if you've gone to other speed puzzling tournaments, we are going to play music. And so it's not going to be loud, but we do think that that's going to be a little different than maybe, ones that have been deathly quiet. So if a puzzle piece falls on the floor, or you're missing a puzzle piece if you put the whole puzzle together and you're missing a piece, try to look around. No one can help you try to find that. It's up to you. It's your responsibility to find that. If by chance you get and there's a missing piece at the end, don't worry about it. There's only a 10-second delay. So when you have finished, also make sure that we know you have finished. Bang on the table, raise your hand, let a monitor know, because immediately they're going to there's going to be a timer. The clock is going to be up here on the wall, so everybody's going to be able to see it, and you can. They're going to use this particular clock for the time. If you have that missing piece, it's only going to add 10 seconds. So don't get too frazzled, but if you can find it within that 10 seconds, it'll help you. Other than that, I think we're ready to go unless somebody has any questions. All right. If we're ready to go, you want to do the countdown? Everybody can do it with me if it comes up. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
All right, we're off.
And we're off.
All right,
and
you got the puzzle here next to us. I haven't seen it, so I'm excited to see what the puzzle is.
It's exciting. We're seeing it right when the puzzlers are. So this is the puzzle that the puzzlers will be doing. We have the 500-piece version here.
Yeah. This is an artist that has shown up in many of Portland Puzzle League competition, and their images are quite nice. They're obviously, you can see the style there. Can be challenging, but we're doing a 300.
Yes, we're doing a 300-piece. It's called Belmont Firehouse by Paul Lockhart. So it is a Portland puzzle. And just in case you're not familiar with Portland Puzzle Company, they are a local company by the name. I think you could probably figure that out here to Portland. And it was created out of an idea that high quality made in the USA puzzles are extremely hard to find. And the owners, Lane and Andrew Weatherly, have a combined nearly 50 years of experience in the printing business. And their shop is located here in Portland, and they have the latest technology to make sure they do personalized puzzles in addition to these ones that you see here from mostly local or semi-local Pacific Northwest artists.
Yep.
And they want to make sure that your personalized product is produced and shipped to the highest standards. And they've also been running weekly speed puzzling competitions on Tuesdays here in the Portland area, both individuals and pairs, and on Wednesdays, teams. So, they've really been promoting this puzzling community here that you were talking about. So they really, they've been doing a lot for puzzling here in Portland. But going back to the puzzle, so the way that we just opened it out of this bag is exactly the way that the puzzlers got their puzzle, and then they have to remove it. So it's a little time consuming just to start even puzzling. And
that's right. People have strategies for unbagging,
Yeah.
like taking the plastic off. There's a couple of different approaches that people use. They might just use like a long nail to go along the box top, but there's something that I call like the Superman method, where you just put it across your chest and you pull on both
love
sides, and it most 9 times out of 10 will just kind of come apart. So as much as you think that there's maybe not a lot of strategy or even tactics that you can do in a jigsaw puzzle competition, there are, as with anything that you put a lot of effort into trying to increase the performance of. There's little tips, little tricks
Yep.
that people figure out to gain an edge, and those edges. When I'm playing, those edges don't matter. But when the elite kind of world-class people are playing, sometimes it comes down to seconds as to who's first at any given place. So those little tips and tricks do actually matter quite a bit.
And speaking of tips and tricks, we see some speed puzzlers who do sort and do start with the edges versus the other pieces. Others do not, and they just start pulling out the pieces and putting them together that, they can see matching patterns and things of that nature. Do you have a particular technique that you either personally like or that you see works better in competition?
A great deal of people at every level will start by pulling the edges out, and not as you move up to kind of the more elite levels, not everybody does the edges right away, but it's a good, if you don't see obvious chunks of things that incorporate the edges, it's good to get the edges sorted because they're easy to identify. You can identify them when they're upside down even, pull them into their own pile, and then you have less things to look at, right? So as you're looking at the remaining pieces, even if you're not going to do the edges, now you just have fewer remaining pieces to pull from. So most people will start by at least sorting out the edges. I would say a great deal of the time, most people are going to do the edges. The edges are really helpful in terms of defining the puzzle space, like how big it is. I know that for me and my team, when we do the edges, like you can see on the box how big the puzzle usually is, but once you actually get it on the table and the edge defined, it makes it a lot easier to figure out where the pieces go relative to everything else. So the edges can be a great way of getting started. That being said, I think if you see something that calls to you, you're best to do that right away. Just start pulling those things and getting those things put together, because what is most important is getting your pieces together fast, because the more pieces you have together soon, the fewer pieces you have to look at later, right?
Yep.
And so not everybody starts with the edges. We see some people starting with the edges. We see a fair number of people starting with some obvious color blocks. Is it possible you can hand me over the box?
Yeah, absolutely. You can take a
look at this one.
Look at that puzzle. So for me, looking at this puzzle, I am not a speed puzzler. I am a casual puzzler. I like to, relax at the end of a stressful evening with a puzzle and do it at my own speed. But looking at this particular puzzle, they have a nice view of it there on the screen for our viewers. I probably would start with that door there because it has those nice lines that you can start to match up, whereas the border has a lot of, the blue. The edges would be a lot of blue that might be a little bit harder to put together right at first.
Agreed. Yeah, I see that a lot of the border here doesn't have extra information in it, right? Mm-hmm. It's blue all the way, like 3/4 of the way around,
Yep.
and so you don't have anything that tells you, does this blue go next to this one? Some people are really good. I don't if you can see like there's the white stripes in the blue. Some people are really good at identifying like where those things would go relative to each other. I am certainly not there. If it were me, I would probably start with the wording. It says historic Belmont Firehouse, and there's a logo up at the top.
Yep.
That to me
Letters.
speaks to something that I can obviously identify.
Yep.
This is a bit more of a sort of an abstract in a way, and so a lot of the things sort of blend together. But I know some people are going to not have any problem with sort of the gridding that's going on in the windows over here. That would be a challenge for me. So I think that the flag is another one that seems like an obvious starter. So yeah, generally speaking, I'm just like, what do I think I can do quickly right now? One of the things that's interesting as you're doing a puzzle is that you really need to be prepared to have different strategies because often you will start with something and you'll be like, I think this is going to be really easy, and then for whatever reason it just isn't, and you need to be in the headspace that the next thing you're going to do is pivot away, right? So if the flag's not working or the background is not working or the edges are not working, what's important is that you don't spend a lot of time trying to make those work. You move on to the next thing, right?
Yep.
You just need to be constantly looking for the next thing that you can put together.
Definitely. So it's interesting. So this is a 300-piece puzzle. So I think we're going to see it go pretty quick, especially for some of our top puzzlers here. So it should be pretty fun. Right now we are watching Andrea puzzle. You mentioned Andrea Ping before. She is one of the top puzzlers in the world. Oh, we've moved on to Jessa now. Some of you may follow Jessa online. She's known as Jigsaw Jessa for some of you who may watch her or follow her online. And so she's going right there too, not too far behind Andrea. She's got her border almost complete. And yeah.
Yeah, we should see this finish, like the first finishers in under 25 minutes is my guess. So 25 minutes is where I would expect people to start finishing.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost halfway there already then for those first finishers.
I mean, we're getting there, yeah. And I know that like Andrea would not describe herself as a small piece count specialist. Actually, people have piece counts that they are stronger in. So typically you're seeing a 300, a 500, and a 1,000 in competition. So I know Andrea wouldn't describe herself as a small piece count specialist. But that being said, the last time she did compete in a 300 piece, she won it. So I don't know how much to to take her word.
Sorry to interrupt you, but now we're on Jean Reuter. And she's gone with a little bit different approach. It's a little difficult to see because she's standing in front of it, but rather than put the, kind of what we were talking about, rather than put the entire edge around, she's actually starting going, looks like bottom up.
Yeah, it looked like I would say the purple bottom part really resonated with her.
Yeah.
And so she sort of built up and she probably found the edge between the purple and the blue here.
Yep.
And that's a good place to kind of move up. You see that she is not obviously continuing to move up through the blue grid, what looks like a Jeopardy board here. So I think it seems like maybe she's finding, as I was saying earlier, pivoting to the next thing, the next eye-catching thing. And that's, again, like you just want to move from what catches your eye to what catches your eye. And as soon as you find yourself slowing down, you want to move to something else. So yeah, she went from the bottom to the top and not doing any of the edges at all. Whereas I can see we don't have it on screen here. Oh, we do.
Wow,
Andrea's
back on
got
Andrea,
the edge kind of all blown out.
She also did the same, so that must have been. It didn't look incredibly obvious to me looking at the picture, but I guess once you get the pieces, there's a little bit more definition in those purples at the bottom.
Right, and you can see that she stood up the entire edge after that, and that I see that Jessa's doing the same thing.
Yep.
It looks like Kathy Reuters is doing a lot of what her sister is doing, and kind of starting at the bottom, and then we're moving on to other places rather than doing the edge.
Oh, and she also has the now we're on Kathy. She has the words done, just like you mentioned, the name of the firehouse.
That's right.
Every time my husband and I puzzle together, he always picks out all the letters. He always does the letters and any words first. So that's where he goes.
A lot of teams have specialists in different areas because we all see different parts of the puzzle differently. Some people are really, really good at patterns. Some people are good at gradients.
Yep.
On my team, we have a person who subs in periodically, and she's a word specialist. Like that is the area she will gravitate to, and she's like, anything with words, I'm putting that together.
Yep.
So it takes all kinds, actually. On my team, we have people who are really kind of focused, really good at just kind of finding two things that go together and making them happen. And we also have a person on our team who's really good at keeping track of the big picture. So she's the person who's like, over here, that goes over here. We're looking to put these, like, this is what kind of thing is going in this area. This is how things are oriented. She keeps us all informed about that. So it really does take all kinds of approaches. And it's one of the things I love about speed puzzling is all kinds of different approaches to how to do it can be successful. We've seen one of the best puzzlers in the world, Kristen, I'm going to get her name wrong, just the beginning of a long list of names I'm going to get wrong throughout the course of this stream, but Kristen Tov, I want to say. She's number one, number two in the world. And she, for the longest time, I don't know if she's still doing this, pulls pieces out of the box and starts sorting them, like one by one. And this usually you see people just dump the entire box out and go, but that's a strategy that clearly works for her. So all kinds of approaches can work.
Okay.
In this heat, we've got, not beyond the folks that we've been talking about, I know that we've got 6 of the folks in this particular heat are heading off to Worlds, at least 6. We've got 9 of the folks in this are part of the local Portland Jigsaw Puzzle League, which is great. And then I think we have here, and I need to figure out where she is, the winner of the Northwest Youth competition a few weeks back. So there's a lot of interesting folks to keep an eye out there.
And here we have Min Yi. She is very focused with her headphones on, getting her puzzle done.
Yeah, a lot of folks will listen to headphones, whether they're listening to audiobooks or music. I know that with Andrea, like one of the things that you can see in her Worlds competition, she has her headphones on and she's bobbing around. So music is obviously a way to keep people moving and energized. Other folks just use noise canceling headphones because they don't want to hear other people talking. They don't want the other noise going on. Obviously, we've got some music here to keep a lively atmosphere, but some folks don't care for that. So especially in individuals, you will see headphones a lot. In fact, I'm looking around the room, and most people I see have some form of headphones on.
We're back on Jessa now, but right before Jessa, we had Katrina Klossner, and it is her first time speed puzzling. So we have quite a few first-timers here. Excited to have all of them joining us. And Katrina is joining us for the first time speed puzzling, but she's been doing jigsaw puzzles with her mom since she was a kid.
Amazing.
So I think a lot of us got started. I started puzzling with my mom and sister when I was a kid as well, and that, very, it's just a great memories, of me doing that. And we still puzzle together whenever we're all together.
Yeah, I love that a lot of people's stories start with family. In one way or the other, either the kind of puzzle that sits on the table during the holidays and people get together and do that, or some people's parents are avid puzzlers, and so the weekend sort of activity. And so what's odd is for a lot of people is transitioning that kind of bonding, slow experience into a fast, competitive experience.
Yeah.
So a lot of people didn't know they were fast because they just enjoyed putting things together, and they did it with their family, and then suddenly they thought they would give it a try. But other people are sort of scratching their heads and be like, why would you take this activity where I'm really trying to make this stretched out as long as possible because it takes my mind off stuff.
Yes.
I don't have to focus on anything except the puzzle. Why would you add a whole bunch of stress to that? But the same is true of every competitive sport. There's competitive walking of all things. So like people move straight from a thing that they like to do, and anytime you have humans doing it, somebody's going to want to turn it into a competition, and then other folks are going to turn it into a competition and join them, and then suddenly you're off to the races like we are here today.
And now I'm probably going to mess up. Oh, we were just on Zenaida Beckham. She is from Eugene, Oregon, and she's been puzzling for about 6 months. And so great
Welcome.
to have these newer puzzlers joining the community.
I love the people who haven't puzzled before but decided to take some sort of trip out to join their first competition.
Yeah.
Especially, it's nice when somebody can do that relatively locally. I'm not sure that Eugene necessarily has a strong puzzle community. And so if you want to go compete, this is a great place to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Looks like we're back at Kathy here. One of the things that I find surprising is that you will see something like this, which maybe looks like that she hasn't made a lot of progress, but you see a lot of things are where they go already. So there will be a moment for some puzzlers where you'll be like, well, they're not really competitive at all. And then you look back up and they are almost done because some of the work that they're doing now sets them up to be successful near the end.
Yep. Yeah, you can see it's like just clicking it all in place.
That's right. I've often wanted to try just putting all the puzzle pieces right where they go and then just see how fast it takes me just to put them together because then I could pretend
Fine
like
motor
I'm
skills.
an elite player.
Yeah. How good are your fine motor skills?
Exactly.
I mean, that would actually probably be pretty good practice for a competition like this, though.
Yeah. Folks will practice we didn't pay a lot of attention to it, but when the competition started, one of the first things you do is dump the puzzle out and you flip the pieces over, right? And so when you're flipping the pieces over, like you can spend a couple of minutes on my personal rate is about, I flip about 100 pieces a minute. So for a 500-piece puzzle, I'm flipping for about 5 minutes. And that's slow. But people practice that,
Yeah.
right? Because getting that technique so that you can do it really fast and efficiently and repeat it all the time, every little thing gets you some sort of edge. If you can cut 30 seconds off your overall time because you've practiced flipping, then that is time well spent.
So the Olympians may be doing drills in the pool. You're doing drills flipping puzzle pieces.
That's right. Yeah. A lot of people struggle doing drills of just flipping because then they just want to go off and do the puzzle. It's one of those things that is, like, if you want to turn puzzling into a grind, that is definitely one way that you can do it. But I know that I want to say that I saw somebody posting their practice plan for the next for Worlds, and as part of that, this was they were doing flipping practice. They're just going to kind of grind it out and make sure that part of their game is strong.
Okay, and now we are looking at Winnie Vernon.
I'm impressed that you're figuring out where these people are.
I'm getting it down. It's taking a minute, but she's here, a local here in Portland, and she also started puzzling as a kid with her family. So yeah, we're kind of seeing that as a trend. But this is her first time competing, so another first time competitor. So fun.
Awesome. She's actually local from here from Portland.
Yep.
So there's a league if you decide that this is exciting.
Yeah. She prefers 1,000-piece puzzles. So you were mentioning people have their favorite piece count. So she's got her 300.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're looking at Peter. He is also a first-time competitor, and a local.
Nice.
A local as well.
Yeah, this is quite the draw.
Yeah. So super fun. Oh, and guess what he does in his free time? Or not his free time, but when he's not puzzling.
What does he do?
He writes software to solve puzzles.
That's my kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go hunt him down and have a conversation later because that is awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things that I enjoy about puzzling, like Jigsaw puzzling competitively, has a lot of ins, like a lot of ways that you can sort of engage yourself. And one of the things I enjoy is like what is the way to optimize your approach to this? What is the fastest way to do something, even if nobody is doing that? How can you do that? And also, like with teams, how do you get people to work in the best cooperative way? If you watch people do it in teams, you'll see that their overall time isn't as fast as if they were doing 4 puzzles individually, because there's a lot of coordination that's involved in doing teams. And so solving that problem is an area of interest to me. So I love anybody who's attempting to try and figure out how to solve puzzles. You see Andrea's got quite a ways there, where we're about 20 minutes in. All right, so we're tracking sort of in the direction that I was thinking we would hit. This might be a slightly more difficult puzzle than which would cause our times to go up.
Okay, and let's see who we're looking at now.
Yeah, we're testing your skills to see who we're looking at.
Oh, wait, maybe I got someone wrong.
Yeah, we're over
earlier.
here on this table over here.
We're on right behind Andrea.
Yeah, right behind Andrea.
So that would be table 21. So we're on, I'm going to mess up her name again, probably. I apologize because everyone always messes up my name. But I believe it's Zenaida again. We're looking at her, and she's doing great.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got the bottom
Yeah.
built out like we saw. She's got the words built out like we saw. She's got the edges built out like we saw. So she's following the pattern. And this is what we see, is that the things that most people will gravitate towards the same things to get started. And so we tend to see a lot of the same kinds of completion patterns as we go.
Yep.
And now we're looking at Jessa here, and Jessa's, as well as Andrea, looks like she's got a great deal of the puzzle being built out here. It's filling in some of the tricky middle parts.
Okay, and we are excited. We actually have the artist with us today.
Ooh, that is exciting.
Okay.
We have the artist of this puzzle that everyone is doing. So Paul Lockhart is here with us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about
Hey, Paul.
his art.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in art?
I say I've always been interested in art,
Okay, I'm gonna
and
move this a little bit closer to you. Sorry.
so since 2016, I started doing more art because I've been doing art all my life. So then I started doing plein air painting about 2 years, 5 years ago, and then I hooked up with Portland Puzzle about 2 years ago.
That's awesome. And can you tell us maybe a little bit about the inspiration for Belmont Firehouse?
Well, I do a lot of plein air painting outside, and just looking for interesting buildings around Portland. And I like a lot of architecture, so I've been doing a lot of different firehouses, and I picked, I like the Belmont. And I get a lot of people that actually come on the street and they go, "Oh, what are you painting?" I go, I'm doing some art here. So
That's great. So do you, when you first started to join up with Portland Puzzle Company, what did you think about having your art as a puzzle? Because it gives people a different way of engaging with your art.
I looked into puzzles, doing art with puzzles a couple years ago, but I didn't find anything. And then there's another, Josh Gates was on the internet, and he posted some puzzles on Instagram, and I asked him, so who do you guys work with? So he got me hooked up with Portland Puzzle, and then I just brought him a couple of designs, and that kind of started the project. And then, of course, when I go out to events and people are going, "Well, I've never seen these before," and I go, "Okay." So, it's kind of exciting to have another avenue.
I know that we I think purchased one of your puzzles before we ever started speed puzzling, and then your puzzles have shown up at our speed puzzle competitions from time to time. Have you ever watched somebody in a speed puzzle competition try and assemble your puzzles?
No, it's the first time. Yeah, it's kind of fun and interesting to see how fast they go.
Is it? Yeah. So they're just in there charging and building out the stuff that you have designed. I can imagine that it's not how you're used to thinking about your art.
No, and it's interesting because of the colors, and a lot of people I found a lot of my puzzles be kind of challenging because all the colors are the same. So, yeah.
What medium do you do your?
Oil pastels.
It's oil pastels originally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that would make. I mean, it does make for a little bit of a more challenging puzzle because.
Right.
There's not clear defined lines,
right.
and there's a lot of blurring of it does make for a little bit more of a challenge, I think.
Yeah, but I work on black paper, so I like the way it mixes and stuff. Yeah, and
Have you ever thought about doing some art for the purposes of puzzling? Like
I've been thinking about that, trying to find some because I've looked at other puzzles, it's a lot. It varies for different art, what's going on there. So I've been trying to figure things that would be specific for puzzles. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've come to understand that if you're making some art for the purposes of speed puzzling, it's sort of a different mental process, right?
Yeah.
You have different things that you have to think about.
Right.
And some folks just love their art being turned into a puzzle, but other people are up for the sort of the challenge of how do I make this something that is interesting to engage with on a puzzle competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you a puzzler?
Not quite. My wife and my friends are, but I'm just a little bit. I try to put a couple of puzzles together and go, "Oh yeah, that's a little more difficult than I thought it would be."
Does your wife do your puzzles?
Yeah, I do take some to the beach with our friends, and they always enjoy doing them. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining
thank
us
you.
today, Paul.
Thank
and
you.
we can't wait to see your puzzle completed.
Yes, okay. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, we're about
Thank
to see 40 different copies of it all.
you. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I always love the artists getting the opportunity to see their puzzles being worked on for the first time. I've seen it blow the minds of a few people where they're, especially when folks are doing puzzles back to back, some competitions you do one puzzle, especially in teams, and then you move right on to the other one. In fact, teams here will have that same format. And I know that a gentleman I was talking to, an artist, was humorously dismayed at the fact that people finished doing his puzzle, which was the first one, and immediately boxed it up and threw it behind them. Like, we're not even going to stop and look and appreciate my puzzle? Nope, we're focused on one thing, and that's getting through these things. So it can be a different experience for those folks. But obviously, puzzling is a celebration of art.
Yes.
People love the art. A lot of people purchase a lot of people purchase from brands whose art they love, whose art style that they respect. I don't personally engage in that way. I'm much more of a like get the pieces done and go. But people who have grown up loving puzzles love the puzzles because of the art, and it's a great way of exposing folks to different kinds of art and getting exposure to different puzzles. It's one of the things I love about Portland Puzzle Company is their relationship with the artists and trying to get artists out there so that people can see what is going on in the scene. Like I've seen Paul's puzzles now a few times. They're great. I love them. I find them challenging, so I don't necessarily love them from a puzzle assembly point of view.
Yeah.
But there's been a couple of other artists that we've been introduced to. My wife and I, and we're not particularly art people. We don't particularly like focus on art, but we've come away with a few puzzles we bought just because we thought the art was beautiful or eye-catching or interesting. So it's a great way of getting art out there into the hands of people.
Yep. Well, and I think we can see, you said his is particularly challenging. I think we can see that right now looking at the time. You were predicting, I think, a little bit faster than what we're seeing today.
Absolutely. So don't listen to me.
But here's Jessa. She's about, what would you say, over 2/3 of the way done, maybe 75% of the way done?
I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so she's getting there, looking pretty good. So we should see a finish. And the thing is that I always love to watch is once we get down to, about 80% of the puzzle left, those pieces just start going real fast.
Well, yeah, it goes one of two ways, right? Is that you have fewer and fewer pieces, which should mean that you can find the place that they go really fast.
Yep.
But you can see here we're looking at Andrea, and one of the things that is going on is that you got a lot. If you've done the thing I was talking about earlier, which is start with all the eye-catching things,
Yep.
You're left with the hard things.
I guess I was wrong. I would have started there, but I guess that was not the right.
I mean, everybody
technique.
does things differently. So this is why I say, like, especially on pairs and teams, having a diversity of people on those teams can be really helpful. But also, this is why you got to be ready to pivot. Like, you might look at this and go, I can totally do this windows that look like a Jeopardy board. I'm gonna knock it out, and find yourself like a minute in going, this is all just lines in blue, and I have no idea what to do with this. And so you have to be ready to move. But you see that. Normally, you're right. The end of the puzzle is where things just go and go and go and go and go, except when what's left is the hardest things. And then you're like, I got 4 pieces and I still don't know where they go.
Let me ask you a question. Do you ever do puzzles without the image?
So Portland Puzzle League, I don't think it's what it's officially called, but that's what I call it, does not provide a reference much of the time. So we start the puzzle competition without any idea what it is we're building. So that can be frustrating for some folks. But then usually at some point, depending on the difficulty of the puzzle, the image will come out. We often know that the puzzle is going to be hard if we get the image right away. But we'll often get it like 45 minutes into a 500-piece puzzle or something like that.
Interesting.
I forget to look at the image, to my dismay, right? Like that is bad, because looking up at the image, while it can take some time, it does the obvious thing, right? Where you're like, oh, this line shows up over here. I know that this piece goes over here. So I'm so used to just kind of not looking at the box and the art that I forget that I should take advantage of that. But I would say most people are used to getting the image with the puzzle. Usually the image is right on the box.
Yep.
And so in
the case of completing the puzzle, it comes with the puzzle laminated in your package. So it's actually interesting, though. I said I like to do puzzles stress-free, and for me, part of that is actually doing it without the image, which may sound really odd to people.
That does sound odd.
But I love just being able to look at the pieces and start to piece them together at my own pace, and not have to feel like I have to look at an image and put them together, and that's just how I puzzle.
Andrea's down to 3.
She's down to 3. She's almost got it.
I told you, she's down to 3, and those are still hard to put in place.
There we go.
Nice job.
Yep, she's got it.
All right. So
Great
that
job.
was what, 31 minutes. So
Yeah.
I was off by a little bit, but I think this was a bit more challenging than some other puzzles that we have seen.
I think she looks surprised that it was as challenging as it was for a 300-piece puzzle.
Yeah.
Jess
is getting there.
struggling on that same spot.
And I see that I'm looking over at Kathy Reuter, and it looks like she spent a lot of time up front getting those windows done.
Yep.
So she has not most of the rest, but mostly what she has is the rest of the puzzle to put together. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes together.
Yeah. Oh. I start to get so excited when when they get down to those last pieces.
So you were talking about completing the puzzle. Tell me a little bit more about what completing the puzzle is all about.
Yeah, sure. For anyone who's not familiar with completing the puzzle, we always like to start with, have you ever done a jigsaw puzzle? Which is a silly question to ask you.
Once or twice.
Obviously you've done a lot. So what do you do with them when you're done, Rob?
We have just a room filled with puzzle boxes, rooms and rooms. In fact, we had to purge a bunch of puzzles, which is challenging because they weren't fit to move on to anybody else. So we had to recycle them, and that's always
sad.
We'd rather reuse than recycle.
Yep. So that's actually exactly how our company got started.
That's awesome.
We had a overflowing closet of puzzles that was making me very sad. That is like a one and done type of situation because I don't really like to do puzzles more than once.
Yes.
And so we thought, why not have a rental service for puzzles so that you can reuse them and get maximum life out of a puzzle?
That's a great idea.
So completing the puzzle is a rental service for puzzles. If you ever used old school Netflix back in the day, if you're old enough to remember Netflix when you actually got a DVD in the mail, it's much like that, except you get a jigsaw puzzle in the mail.
How exciting.
Yeah.
I love getting stuff in the mail, and a jigsaw puzzle is one of the best things you can get.
I would agree, and I think most of our customers would agree. We get messages all the time that say people can't wait to get their envelope in the mail. So I'm really, I'll share with you. So we actually just started shipping out of these new mailers. So we do try to be really sustainable, speaking of being reuse and reusable and stuff. So we used to ship out of compostable poly mailers, but we actually recently went to reusable mailers that are super fun. So
how do those work?
So they, the customers, when they get them, they'll get to go back and forth with them. So
there we go.
They have a zipper. Yeah, waiting
cool
for the camera
is that?
to come back. So yeah, they're really fun. They have a zipper. The customer will be able to put their puzzle and everything inside and just zip it up. There's a nice little spot on the front to put the label, the return label inside. Oh, we have almost a winner.
Is that Jean?
Second place.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but
no.
Things are evolving
Exciting.
quickly here.
Yeah.
It looks like we're one piece down. Oh, there it was. Yeah, so yay. Nice job, Jean.
Yeah.
The as Lane was saying at the very beginning, you if you can't find a piece and you're done, then you have basically a 10-second penalty, or you have 10 seconds to find it, and then after that you can stop looking. So while most puzzles come complete, you do get the odd puzzle that doesn't have all of the pieces in it. And so there's a, sort of a compromise rule there where you don't want people to suffer unduly because there's legitimately not that piece in the puzzle, right? You can't wait for every last piece to get in.
Yep.
But we do want to make sure that they don't give up on it. All right, who finished? Is that Jessa?
Yeah,
nice.
Yep.
Jessa for third.
This is exciting.
Yeah, things came together pretty quickly. So.
Yeah. Got the top three finishing within about 4 minutes of each other. Just very excited here.
And here's the puzzle community, I think, sort of in one shot. No matter how competitive folks are with each other, they are also extremely supportive. One of the great things about the jigsaw puzzling community is you can probably guess from people you know who jigsaw puzzle is. There's not a lot of aggressive jigsaw puzzlers out there. There's not a lot of toxic jigsaw puzzling. And so people will go off and support other people, even if they're their archest rival. One of my favorite moments in the Worlds competition was a pair who had finished early, Sarah Schuler and her partner, Michaela Keener, were doing an interview, and Andrea and her daughter, who had completed or finished their pairs a little later, when they finished, Sarah and Michaela just ran out of the interview and ran down to hug these people.
Oh,
and
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much support for one another. And it is a pretty tight-knit community. A lot of these puzzlers see each other at competitions, at events, at
That's right.
meetups and swaps and online, sharing puzzle stories and favorite puzzles.
I feel like we got interrupted from you telling us about your service by all the activity going on. It looks like we got another minute or so. So
Yeah, you know what I was
I
going to
love the
mention?
brand on that.
Thank
Like
you. Yeah, we love this. It's new. It's fun. We just want to bring fun. I think there's so much that can be heavy today, and this is like hopefully a spot of light. So, oh, yep, there's Kathy.
Nice.
Kathy finishing. I think that when you were mentioning earlier, people really gravitate towards certain puzzles for their design and their image and things like that. That's our catalog right now has over 1,300 unique puzzles in
Wow,
it.
really?
Yeah, and so we really try to have something for everyone because we know that different people do prefer different puzzles. Some people want to do Starry Night, while for other people that would be their worst nightmare. So we do try to have a little bit of something for everyone to choose from, and we're always expanding our catalog to continue to provide more variety. We love being able to support, North American-made puzzles mostly, and if possible, artists that are local to communities and things of that nature. So it's really fun. It's really, really been fun. I was always a casual puzzler, and then we started this company, and getting to know the brands, the people in the puzzling community has just been so much fun.
I love the idea of being able to get puzzles that maybe you can't find in your local area, just different, maybe you're got a regional company from a different place or something, and being able to pick that up without having to pay for a brand new puzzle and all the shipping and all of this, as you said, sort of all of the waste that comes along with that. So I love the idea of just being able to get that in the mail, go find what speaks to you, and have it show up. And one of the things that just as a person who likes to do speed puzzling things is that as you saw at the very beginning of this competition, every puzzle was in a bag. You didn't see what it was. As a person with a short memory, I've gotten things off of completing the puzzle, which I couldn't remember when the actual bag showed up. So we just treated it like a competition. We're like, all right, I don't know what's in here, but away we're gonna go.
So I'll actually show you something. We actually have people who have been training for Worlds who have signed up for a new plan that we have. That's a 4 puzzle monthly plan. So they get 4 puzzles shipped at a time in this mailer box where they get all 4 puzzles shipped at a time in this. And the legends actually are all at the bottom. So what they'll do is they'll get the 4 puzzles. They'll leave the legends in the box at first, so they don't really know, and then they just try to work it. Maybe they'll pull the legend out, maybe they won't, but they're practicing it. And over that month, they could actually re-practice that same puzzle over and over to try to get faster and beat their time. But it's been really fun to get letters and stories from them about how they're using it to practice as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's kind of been fun to watch.
And is it the case that if you finish the puzzle and you send it back, much like the old Netflix model, the next one just comes?
With some of our plans, yes. With the new 4 puzzle plan, that's something that just ships once a month.
Right.
Yep. So, and I mean, for some of our more avid puzzlers on that 4 puzzle plan, they're done, they ship it back in 2 weeks, and they want their next one, and they accelerate their next shipment.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how fast folks here are finishing puzzles. So, especially if folks are like yourself that don't like to repeat puzzles.
Yep.
If you're doing a serious amount of puzzles, you can easily go through a box like that pretty quickly.
Yeah. So we have almost another finisher here.
Yeah. Do we know who this is?
I'm having a little trouble seeing who this is.
I was hoping you were going to do your magic. All right. I think it's table
19?
17, maybe?
Oh, 17. Let's see. That is 16. Nope.
I don't know. Well, nice job, anonymous person. But we can see that this is Shannon Gray.
Oh no, it is 19. That was Brianna Haidloff.
Oh yeah.
This is her first competition, and she just finished 5th.
Nice.
So speaking of those sleepers.
Yeah, I love to see that.
Yeah.
And so that put her, what, fifth?
Yeah. I
Times
put her
to
in
be
fifth.
coming.
Yeah, so great. We've got Shannon here. Let's see here. Got Shannon. Shannon Gray.
Yeah, I don't have much on her. She's competing in the pairs later and is competing with a team as well. So I love people who are here to do all three. What always surprises me is the people who are here to do just one event. And especially if it's like a team event where you're here. Why not take a stab at doing a pairs or an individuals? Yeah, it looks like Shannon's doing the. Everybody's stuck on the windows. We can sort of look around and see. Yep, there's a lot of gaps in those windows everywhere you look.
Clearly, I do not speed puzzle. I would have started in the completely wrong place.
All right. Well, later on we have to give this one a shot just to see if, like, does that work for you? Because
Yeah.
if you find that was the thing that you were like, yeah, obviously that's easy, then you've got to be on somebody's team. Have you done any speed puzzling?
So I did participate in the pairs for the Texas speed puzzling.
Oh yeah.
A couple of years, maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay.
With a good friend of mine. We did not practice at all. We just decided to enter at the last minute because completing the puzzle was a sponsor and we were going to be there anyways. We decided to do it for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And we came in somewhere around the 50 percentile, I guess. Like, we just did it for fun. It was a super fun puzzle. We had a really good time.
Yeah. We're my team. We say that we practice hard to be mediocre. We're aiming to finish most times, finish in the time. So you're probably better than us. We saw the scoreboard there for a second, and I just wanted to mention we've got a couple of different things going on the scoreboard there. As you can see, the times obviously. There's the gap between each finisher, and then the gap from the beginning to that person, and then also there's the pieces per minute column.
PPM.
That's right. I call that placement rate. It goes by a lot of different names, but that's how many pieces per minute they put in there. And in individual competition, like, that's a useful thing to look at. But when you start looking at how people move into pairs and teams, you'll see that this number is per person. So 2 people finishing in 10 minutes you'll divide that time by 2 for each person. So you'll start to be able to compare how fast people are in an individual competition versus how fast they do as a part of a pair. So it really starts to help get a sense of, like, how cohesive are the pairs, how cohesive are the teams. And it's a good way of seeing relative difficulty of things as well.
Super interesting. And that's where one of those drills, like what you were talking about, where you just place everything and then, I mean, where that could potentially help. I mean,
yeah, and it's especially true in like teams where you're just working to manage 8 hands in the middle of a puzzle, and so I know on my team we look at that kind of stat to see like this is the stat we actually look at. We don't look at time typically, to get a good sense of, like, how are we doing as a team, how are we getting those pieces put together relative to other things that we've done, relative to other folks. It allows you to compare people on teams of 4 versus teams of 3, which happens from time to time.
Yep.
We have some folks who do teams of 3 periodically in the Portland Puzzle League who still destroy everybody else. So
they're just so fast.
They're just so fast. I mean, you would usually expect them to be slower, but they aren't. But even so, if you see a person on a team of 3 and they don't finish ahead of a team of 4, if you look at their pieces per minute, you might see that they're going much faster than the team of 4. They're just one person down, right? They didn't have as many hands to put things in.
And we were looking right before at Cosmo Smith. He's actually going to be going to the Worlds this year, so that's
right.
fun and exciting.
Yeah, and was competing in the Northwest regionals a couple weeks back as well. Did well, if I recall correctly.
Looks like we have Shannon. I think that's Shannon Gray, who's just about finished. She not on the screen right now, but I can see looking out. Looks like she's pretty close to being done.
We've got Min's finishing up the windows.
Yep.
Everybody's got those windows to get done.
Got a couple people pretty close.
Yeah, I love you can hear the music going on in the background. And if you've ever watched a speed puzzling competition, which I assume is most people, but if you've ever watched a speed puzzling competition, especially in individuals, one of my favorite things about that is that there's this big countdown, and you get to 1, and then there is the box noise, and then there is 20 to 40 minutes of silence.
Yep.
It is like watching a library convention or something. Like everybody is quiet the entire time. And so Portland Puzzles, they have always been kind of more energetic, more upbeat. So there's usually a playlist going. Folks are dancing and singing as they're putting together puzzles. I often think of it as like puzzle karaoke, because half the time people are singing along more than they are in fact puzzling. So I enjoy that Portland Puzzle Company brings a different atmosphere to the puzzling competition. So again, I really love the just seeing 40, 100 people all quietly assembling something, but sometimes it's nice to change the vibe and have some upbeat music going on.
So now we're looking at Kelly Brown. Oh, and it looks like she's been competitively puzzling for about 4 years.
Nice.
And she also started a puzzle club at her kids' school. So she's passing it down to and getting that next generation involved, which is super fun. Oh, and we have a finish. Looks like number 6 is going to be Shannon Gray.
Yeah,
so great
Shannon,
job by
nice job.
Shannon.
Yeah, there is a movement to get jigsaw puzzling clubs into various high schools, maybe even middle schools. I'm not completely sure, but I know that.
And Min, sorry.
Yeah, there's Min. No,
yep.
please.
Great. Number 7. So they almost finished right together. Oh, and look at those pants.
I was going to say, you cannot not talk about those pants.
Those pants.
I
Love
appreciate
those.
anybody who's fashion appropriate for jigsaw puzzling competition.
Speaking of, well, no, our viewers really won't be able to see, but I did get my nails done for the event.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think the nail tech was a little confused when I showed her the picture and said I want jigsaw pieces on my nail, but
I'm
she did a
sure
great
that's
job.
not the weirdest thing anybody's ever asked for.
Probably not. But yeah, she did a great job. All right, yeah, we're back on Kelly. So sorry, going back, getting the puzzle clubs and the schools.
I know that the person who runs a lot of the virtual jigsaw puzzle competitions is has started up for a while a program to try and get jigsaw puzzling, speed puzzling specifically into schools as a kind of opportunity for folks who aren't necessarily going out for like track and field as an alternative to chess,
Yeah,
that
art,
kind of thing.
Arts or something. Yeah.
That sort of thing. And so I think that is pretty fascinating. I'm interested to see how that develops.
Yeah, so we've actually been working with a few schools as well.
Is that right?
And sending out packets of puzzles to the schools. And that way they actually can do different puzzles as well in the clubs, and they don't have the same puzzles all the time.
Is it similar, like it's like a chess club concept, or is how are you working with those? In what capacity are you providing the puzzles? Like, are they just casual to have around sort of puzzles, or are they meant to actually work?
They'll complete them
yeah.
and compete with them, but then they send them back and they'll get new ones.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, that is great.
Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah. All right.
All right. Who do we have here?
Oh, right in front of us. So let's see. That
Table
is
4?
Janelle Mitchell.
Looks like off camera we got I'm going to guess might be the junior winner over there in the left-hand side.
Table 13. Sarah Gelke.
Yeah, I think that's right. So I don't know because I can't see her, her tag.
She was the first individual youth.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's in fact her, but she looks youthy.
Yeah.
So forgive me if,
Nope,
good on you if you're a 50-year-old person and I'm thinking you're the youth leader here, but that's my guess.
That's her. Good spot. Great spot.
It was, so I was at the Northwest Regionals a couple of weeks ago and was watching the youth compete because I wasn't doing the individual competition, and they were suddenly finishing like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes in. And I was struggling with like, what is going on? They're so fast. And then realized that they were doing, I think, half as many or so pieces as the rest of the group. Because they were going at the same time the adults individuals was going on. So it took me a while to figure out that, in fact, they had a different puzzle that had fewer pieces in it. But impressive nonetheless. And I love the idea of kids getting into puzzling and competing.
Definitely. So I have a question. So we see that the top 5 are automatically qualified, and then after that, will it be whoever has the top scores across the 3 individual preliminary heats? So it's the top 5 from each 3 heats?
It's a great question. So it is in the individuals competition, it's the top 13 move on.
Okay.
And then there is a wild card for the top next person of any of the heats who didn't make it in.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's so far everybody here should be qualified. Yep, we're seeing them all kind of being marked as qualified now. And so the next, I can't
people?
math, but
5
5 people.
Teamwork.
Yay! So the next 5 people will automatically move on to the finals.
All right. Yeah, so Sarah, do you know what age the youth goes up to?
I don't for sure.
Okay.
I can look that up, but I think that it's probably 17 or 18. I'm just looking at the split times here, and it's interesting to see that Shannon, who we didn't get a chance to see on camera finish, finished just 24 seconds ahead of Min Yi Deng. So there's a tight clustering there. Sounds like we maybe have another finisher somewhere. Back corner. Yeah, maybe there. Meanwhile, we're watching Jessica Chow, who looks like she's got not the windows. She's working on the upper half of the puzzle. Oh, and there's some fun pants walking in the door. Yeah, looks like she's just about done. But yeah, like, again, you would think it would go fast at the end, but that's often where the hard parts are. There you go. You see it. Like, as a competitor, this is always the fun part where you're like, it's, as fast as I can move my hands, the pieces go in. And you're like, and then inevitably you struggle at the very end. Like, the last piece is the hardest piece to put in for whatever reason.
And Jessica competed in the USJPA Nationals pairs competition. So she's not a newcomer to the speed puzzling competitions.
Nice.
But it looks like this may be her first individuals because she did the pairs at USA JPA and then also at the Northwest Regionals.
Nice. It's always great to see people branching out into other things. A lot of people struggle moving from teams and pairs to individuals just because it's a different mindset. There's a lot of stress. There's nobody else to blame anything on, but also there's nobody else to talk to. And so that transition can be challenging for some folks. So
Yep.
always
We got
appreciate
it finished by Cosmo Smith.
Hey, yep.
Great job.
And I think, didn't we already see his? Nope. I was thinking we saw his pairs partner Andrew also finish, but I think we just saw him earlier as probably making a lot of progress.
Let's see. Andrew is right next to him. Andrew looks like he's about to finish.
All right.
Let's see. And we are on. Thank you for your patience if you're watching and bearing with us trying to get the tables and names right.
Yeah, the good news is that you get to watch us squint at the screen. You're seeing the same thing that
Numbers
we
are
are.
a little hard to read, but we are doing our best, so thank you.
So that looks like table 33.
Yeah.
Oh, Pazinga. One of the things that I want to talk about once we get to pairs and teams is team names. Love team names, and a lot of them don't get appreciated. I want to take some time to appreciate people's selection of names.
Yeah, so that was Chantel Smothers of Pazinga.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow, fun fact. She has, and I'm going to probably butcher this, synesthesia.
Synesthesia.
Thank
Synesthesia.
you.
Yeah.
You know what this is. Cool. So it is where you see colors in letters and numbers.
That's right. It's
Fascinating.
where your senses are sort of intermingled.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And I wonder if that has any kind of effect in terms of speed puzzling.
So you just see everything in Pantone color numbers.
Well, I know that some folks will see like music as colors and vice versa, and
so cool.
words and numbers as, as feelings maybe. And so it would be interesting to see what kind of impact that has on people's puzzling. Of course, it's hard to get into the brain of another person, so I'm not sure we'll ever really know.
Yep.
But yeah, I love that. So here we've got Olivia Lorimore.
Yeah, so she's also going to be in the pairs. And she started puzzling with her grandma.
Classic family story.
Her favorite type of puzzles are of cats. I find anything with fur incredibly difficult to do. I don't know about you.
No, 100%. Fur is rough. One of our early competitions had it's a bunch of puppies in a basket or something like that, and it was brutal.
So hard.
But fur is a specialty. Like some people are really good at fur. Most people have to practice fur explicitly. So if you're into speed puzzling and you want to kind of have be ready for anything, because you never can tell what kind of puzzle you're going to get, you have to practice the things you hate. And so that can mean for some people repetitive patterns or gradients or fur. You just got to get in there and make it happen.
We were just looking at Maya Drucker. She was getting pretty close to finishing.
Nice.
Yep, got just a few pieces left. Oh, she saved it. Almost swiped it right off the table. And she's done.
Yeah,
Great job.
Occasionally you see people right near the end dislodge a bunch of pieces and have to pick them up off the floor.
Get too excited.
Yeah, it's like, your nerves get to you because you're just so excited to be done. Like,
Yep.
not like it's a slog, but you're like, yeah, I'm going to finish. And then like you might lapse a little bit in kind of paying heavy attention to something, or you might have those end of puzzle nerves. Like I said, that last puzzle is always the hardest one to get in, and you move your hand and suddenly half the puzzle is moved across the table.
Okay, and
So
we're
nice.
looking at Carol Nelson. She's about to finish as well. It's her first puzzle competition. And she actually learned about puzzle competitions after a bike accident. So it sounds like she maybe was an athlete before, and she needed to find something to compete in. She wanted to keep that competitive spirit going, but that wasn't sport related. So she found speed puzzling.
It's a surprisingly common story. In fact, one of the vendors here, and I unfortunately don't remember their names, otherwise I would plug them here. I'll tell you later. Was basically saying the same story, is that they got into puzzling because they were a very active outdoors sort of person. They did all kinds of activities, and then they had some sort of injury that made them take some real time out, and they couldn't do the things that they loved all the time. And so a lot of people have found puzzling that way, and those people who are like continually working hard and on competitive sports channel that into speed puzzling. And so I've heard that story more times than I would have expected.
Looks like we may have our first official missing piece.
Yeah, no pieces on the floor. Yeah, but again, maximum 10-second penalty for that.
Yeah.
It occasionally does matter. Occasionally we get where some folks are so close together that missing piece matters. But generally speaking, it's not a game changer. That being said, I was just watching a European competition where, in fact, that exact thing mattered. So I guess I have immediate evidence to the contrary, where it's like anytime you're competing at a fairly high level, every little thing does matter. So.
And Gwenny Vernon looks like she just finished here. Another local.
Yeah, and now we're an hour in, if I'm reading the clock right.
And right now we're looking at Callista Beckham. Oh, no, that's not the right name. Sorry, y'all. Trying my best here.
Yeah, and I know I feel like a broken record at this point, but more windows.
And we got another finisher.
Yeah, I think we saw her finish earlier.
Oh,
We're at
she's
top
packing
11
up.
so far, according to the scoreboards. And so far, all 11 folks who finished will move on. Elizabeth Forsyth just finished and at 12th, and so we got room for one more, and then we're off to the wild card. Wild card will be interesting because each heat has a different puzzle, and those different puzzles have different levels of difficulty. And so you have to pick something if you need tiebreakers to move on, to bring people in. So they decided to pick times, but it will be a little bit of a luck of the draw as to which puzzle you get, and if you can get the fast puzzle, even if you don't qualify. Hey, there we go.
Looks like we do have our top 13 locked in now.
Does, yeah.
Yep. So we have
Elizabeth's
our 13 who will be moving on to our individual finals, which will be taking place on Sunday.
Right.
So we're just about a little over halfway into the competition.
Yeah, and I'm just looking
And-
around the room, and we're
Yeah.
about a little more than half folks still going.
And, you know, a lot of times you have a decent amount of people who actually DNF, do not finish. Do you think that'll happen today, or you think most of these people will complete?
I
their
think
puzzle
it will
today?
happen today. There's a fair amount of time, if I remember, for this particular puzzle, and so it is less common for a 300-piece puzzle with 2 hours for folks to not finish. But it's important to note that they don't finish in terms of time, but they still are competitive, which is to say that if you get all the way to the end of the time, what happens next is that anybody who hasn't finished does a count of all of their pieces, basically pieces left that don't have, in this case, a collection of 3 or more. So if you've gotten 3 pieces together, that counts as being solved. Any unsolved pieces, they count those up and then continue to rank people by how many pieces they were able to accomplish in the allotted time. So just because you don't make it all the way just because you don't finish in time doesn't mean that you're not still competing.
Yep.
So every last piece counts.
Every last piece counts. Cannot give up until that timer stops. Right now we're looking at Natalie Johnson, so it looks like she's almost done.
Yeah.
Got just a few pieces left. Man, that
The windows.
section it's really giving a lot of people trouble.
It's true.
Question for you: do you start to pull out and organize pieces by their shape? So, like for a section like
yeah.
this, it would make sense to me to start to pull out and place them so you can see where they might fit.
Absolutely. Shape sorting is definitely one of those things you want to have in your bag of tricks. Usually it comes near the end. Usually it comes when something is undifferentiable. So it's like solid colors or a pattern that you can't pull out. In a puzzle this size, it may become less important because you just have so few pieces relative to how many spots that you have left. But in bigger puzzles like 500 and especially 1,000, you may have 100 pieces of black. Right, and at that point you need another tool. So shape sorting is definitely one of those tools. You might see it less in individuals, whereas you might see it more in pairs and teams where somebody can just do that while somebody else is plugging away.
Yep.
But you definitely do see it in the individuals from time to time, and it's just what it sounds like. You're putting them into. Typically, we do lines, but people do like just clusters of things that have the same number of ins and outs, basically, and in the same pattern of ins and outs. So that when you're looking at like a piece in a interior corner of the puzzle, you're like, oh well, I know it's got to have an out on one side and an in on the other side. I'm just going to go to that part of my pile and I only have to look at those. And worst case scenario, you just jam every piece into that opening and see if it works. But you're only looking at a subset of your total sets of pieces, and that's really a lot of what is going on is trying to limit how much you have to look at everything in order to be limit the stuff you're looking at whenever you're trying to find a place to go.
We just had Heather Haynes O'Brien finish up.
I met Heather and her sister a couple of competitions ago, and they are just the nicest people. I mean, I could say that about any 2 people you want to point me at here in this room.
Yeah.
but they cheer for each other. I know that her sister is relatively new, if I recall, to speed puzzling, and got into it because her sister was into it. So they're just a great couple of folks to talk to, and really kind of, I love sitting next to one of them while the other one's puzzling because they're just so into it.
Yeah, it's really sweet. So her and her sister will be competing together in the pairs, and her sister her sister Heidi and Heather, they live 5 states away, and they meet up in the middle to compete together. So that's their way of getting a chance to see each other and to compete together in these puzzle competitions, which is just so fun. And as someone who has a sister who I like to puzzle with, maybe that's something that we'll need to start doing as well.
Is your sister nearby?
She's actually in Dallas, so she's not too far from where I live in Austin.
So you guys could get together and puzzle from time to time?
Yeah, I actually tried to convince her to come here with me and be my sidekick in Portland, but she's a teacher and she actually has to report back to school Monday, so it was just a little too much with the timing.
I mean, what's more important, educating the youth of tomorrow, the future leaders, or coming to a puzzle competition in Portland?
Yeah, I think probably the educating, but
people have their priorities.
Yeah, I know. She was pretty sad that her summer's already over. Oh, look at her rocking out.
I love that. Do you guys work well as puzzlers?
We do, actually. Yeah, we work pretty well. We are sorters, so we have our puzzle sorters, and we sort first, and then we just each take a tray and work on the tray. Yeah, we do, though. I think once we're pretty close. We're 3 years apart, and so I think when you've known someone your whole life, it's almost like, you see it with the Reuter sisters when they're puzzling together. It's amazing to watch, and we'll see that in the pairs competition. It's like you can almost read each other's mind of where you're going. You're not like bumping elbows or anything. And I kind of feel like that's how I am with my sister a lot on things. I almost feel like I'm thinking something sometimes, and she texts me the same thing.
Does that mean that you're often reaching for the same piece to put in?
No,
that's great.
Weirdly not.
Okay.
Weirdly not. It's almost like she knows that I'm going to do that and doesn't do that.
Wow, there's several layers of being in somebody's head there.
Yeah, and it's interesting. She has twin daughters, and it's interesting to watch them and the way they can communicate with each other as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's really fun.
I know we have the Reuters here, but there's another team that a pair coming up that I want to go find out who they are, because their name I think is something like Twin Sanity, which suggests to me that maybe there's another set of twins going to be here.
People making some good progress here.
Yeah.
Leaving those windows.
You mentioned sorting,
Yes.
and that's another one of those things that people do differently depending on where their skills are. So Guinness Book of World Record fastest puzzle assembler, Tammy McLeod, is an avid sorter.
Yeah.
She will sort the pieces, potentially sometimes to the dismay of the rest of her team. And I say that lightly, obviously, but a lot of her team is not, especially her typical pairs partner, Yvonne Foyt, not particularly a sorting sort of person. So she lets Tammy do the sorting, and off they go. But some people, like I was mentioning earlier, the woman who's first in the world, she has been known as well to just completely sort the puzzle before ever beginning. And if you watch her, you're like, oh my God, come on. You got to get started putting things together. But then she's first or second every time. And you're like, okay, well, clearly I have notes I can take from this. Kristen, that's what I was looking for. Kristen Duff.
And right now we're looking at Janelle Christensen, is that correct? Trying to match up tables with people here.
21? 22.
22?
Yep. As with most things in life, I am merely distracting. One of the things that I love that they did here, and I don't know if you can really see it in the shots that you're seeing, but a challenge for a puzzling competition is lighting. There's two things that are like really important: the table itself and the lighting in the area. And I know that the Portland Puzzle Company spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get lighting right. They run a weekly competition. some of us complain periodically about the lighting, and so that they know lighting is a priority. So you can't see it necessarily in any of the shots that we've seen so far. There we go. But there's a lot of lighting going on. So they brought in spotlights, like diffuse lights. So kudos to, I don't know if that's the venue, but for bringing that kind of lighting in, I bet you it helps the puzzlers immensely, because especially if you have a puzzle where there's subtle contrast or it's dark, having a shadowed area of the room can just be a nightmare to try and put things together, because it adds another level of stress to your trying to get things done. So good job on everybody for getting the lighting figured out in this area.
Yeah, I also love how big the tables are and how spread out they are. I think it's probably really helpful for the puzzlers.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, there's a little bit of luxury going on here in that there's roughly a 6 foot by let's call it 2.5 foot table here, and the individuals folks can use the whole table. Is often not the case. If you have a puzzle competition with a lot of people there, you're often doing individuals and maybe even pairs on the table this size split. So you get half the table. And so
Pretty
here
challenging.
Here, I mean, you get to spread out, put your pieces wherever you want. Whereas if you're doing it where there's another pair on the same table, then you got to figure out like where do I put my box so that it's not infringing on their space, but it's not really into my space. How do I make sure, especially if you're doing like a 500 piece puzzle, you've got just a lot of pieces to manage in a very small amount of space. So it's another thing that some folks will practice is like, okay, well, I'm going to tape off a table with only the amount of space that I'm going to get as a pair, and I'm going to figure out how I can optimize that space. Andrea Peng and her partner, I think it was Kelly Walter, they did at the last Nationals, they had a very structured approach to their table where like there was the box top was in one place and the puzzle was right under it, and the pieces were organized in a good fashion right under that, so that they could just look down and up in one continuous motion using the least amount of the table possible. So they put a lot of time and effort into really understanding how to work in that space. And again, like I said, every little thing counts at this level.
And looking at that leaderboard, we've got over half of the competitors so far complete. We've got about 46 minutes left, a little over 46 minutes left in the competition, in this individual preliminary Heat 1.
Yeah.
Coming up after this, we'll have a little bit of a break, about a 30-minute break, and then we'll be back with the individuals Heat 2. So, if you're going to stick around with us, we'll take about a 30-minute break, and then you can find us back for Heat 2.
I mean, if you're here at this point, how are you not going to be back with us?
I don't know. I mean, you really got to see who's going to get to the finals on Sunday.
And as fun as this is, and I only sort of sarcastic about that, because I am the wrong person to think this is not fun. Like, I am super into this, but things get ramped up from here, right? Like we got to see some of the best in the world already in Andrea, the Reuters, Jessa, doing their stuff, and some unexpected folks showing up in the mix. But now we're going to, as things go on, only the fastest people are going to be left. And so once we get to individuals finals and pairs finals, it ramps it up even another notch. So if you're into it now, just wait.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked out the entire schedule yet, so after this we have individuals Heat 2 coming up. Then later today we'll have the duo preliminaries Heat 1. Then tomorrow morning we're going to kick it off with individual preliminaries Heat 3, which will be the final heat to qualify for those individual finals on Sunday. Then we're going to have the duo preliminaries Heat 2. Got to keep it all straight.
I'm impressed you're not even looking at anything when you're doing this.
The duo preliminaries Heat 2, which will be the qualifiers for the last qualifier for the duo finals. And then tomorrow we'll be closing it out with the team finals, which is super fun because with the team event, it won't be just one puzzle, but it'll actually be 2 puzzles that these teams will have to complete. So there's no qualifications for the team event. It is going straight into the finals. That'll be tomorrow, Saturday afternoon. And then Sunday morning, we'll be kicking it off with the duo finals. And then Sunday afternoon will be call it the headline event, the individual finals. So exciting stuff all weekend. You can go and subscribe. You can even put notifications on all of those live stream events, so you'll get notifications when they're starting so that you won't miss any of the puzzling action.
Yeah, and the teams events where we're going to see some artist puzzles disrespected, and they're going to get assembled and then tossed over the shoulder because they have a second puzzle to do. Speaking of things that people practice, transition from one puzzle to another is another one of those things you have to practice as a team, because probably you're going to get into multiple puzzles, and so you need to be able to put down one and get the next one stood up as fast as possible. Also, as we move from the individual or the heats into the finals, in the individuals, I think we move up piece count from 300 to 5, and do we move up? I think the pairs, we are the same each time, 500 pieces each time for the heats and the finals.
Yep.
And then, as I was saying, the team's puzzle is doing 1,000 and a 300.
They're doing 1,000 and a 300.
Correct.
Let me double check on that, actually. I have my notes. Can't remember everything in my head.
I mean, you remembered more than I did, so.
Yes, it's 1,000 and a 300 for the team.
All right, and we got somebody finishing up here.
Janelle Christensen.
Nice job, Janelle.
Yeah. And she's going to be, yes, on that duo later this afternoon. She'll be competing in the prelims. She's from Springfield, Oregon.
Seeing 11, I think, if by rough count, 11 more competitors out there working on things.
So Janelle, actually, it looks like she's usually a very large puzzle piece count puzzler. She said 1,000 is usually her minimum piece count she does. So she just had to do a 300 piece, but
Yeah.
she usually does over 1,000 piece puzzles.
Yeah, and you would think that, if you're a person who likes to do 1,000, and heaven forbid people are out there doing 5,000 or 3,000 piece puzzles as a habit, that scaling down to a 500 piece puzzle would be a no-brainer, but it actually can be a different set of skills, especially if you're not necessarily trying to go fast at a 1,000 or 5,000 piece level. And very different kinds of things are in play with a 300 for 1,000. Like if you're in a 300 piece puzzle, you're really just looking to get your hands moving as fast as possible. Like it's really about, can I identify something and get my hands to do that thing really fast? When you're at 1,000 piece, you have a little bit of time to strategize and be like, okay, what are the right things for me to do next? And to do some pre-planning to help your end of game come together faster. So you might do some more sorting in a 1,000 piece just because you have the time, or you just don't have that time in a 300.
And we just had Richard Euler of Sunnyvale, California finish.
Nice. Welcome to
Looks
Portland.
like he started puzzling as a pairs partner for his wife, but now he's doing it all on his own.
Yeah, you do see that. You do see that somebody is the passionate puzzler and somebody else is along for the ride. And at some point they catch the bug and they're off to the races as well.
He said when he's not puzzling, he's actually learning the piano. So I'm sure that dexterity is probably helping him with the speed puzzling too.
Yeah, especially getting that piece right in where it goes.
Yeah.
You use all 10 fingers to try and get those things into place. You'll see that most people, like the person we're watching now, doing mostly a one-handed puzzle. They're using just one hand to put things in, and that's because that's what most of us can handle. I do know that some folks deliberately practice trying to keep both hands moving at the same time. So what you'll see is they'll pick up a piece, they'll see where it goes, they'll start moving their hand towards that, and then start looking for the next piece and pick that up while their hand is placing the other one. So that's another skill that people have to practice if they want to try and develop that, to try and keep both hands going. But again, like I know I keep coming back to the first number 1/2 in the world, Kristen Dove, but she is famously a one-hand puzzler. She famously has, she's sort of leaning on one with her chin on one hand while doing the rest of the puzzle. So every time I come up with some like this is the way you do it, she breaks the mold.
I am definitely a very dominant right-handed, one-hand only puzzler. Let's see, right now we are looking at Corey Haynes. Corey is a local from Portland as well, and he also started puzzling with his grandma.
Those grandmas, man, they're recruiting people left and right.
And when asked if he has how he prepares for a puzzle competition, he said he prays.
Power of prayer.
Yep. Yep. So he's coming in here. Doesn't have any other tips or tricks to share.
Now he's doing something that I be cautious of. He's got some pieces that he hasn't put in on the puzzle
Yes.
itself, which can be fine. You can see he's got blue pieces on a red background, and that's probably fine. But I've seen a number of people lose a puzzle piece in the puzzle because they had a piece sitting on something of a similar background and could not find it.
Then you have to go and swipe your hand across to make sure you didn't miss anything, and then that's when you lose one on the floor.
That's right. That's right. So be cautious if you're going to be putting things on the puzzle. That being said, like it does help you not have, like, especially if you're going fast, the less you have to look around for things, the better. But boy, is that a risk to take if you're going to try and go constrain what you're looking at by putting it on the puzzle. You're taking a big risk.
He's almost finished. He's got a few left.
It is quite relaxing watching somebody put together a piece of puzzle.
I know. I mean, there's a reason
yeah.
why people do watch on videos on YouTube of people puzzling.
Yeah, nice job.
Great job, Corey.
All right, we're coming up on hour 22. It's like we've got maybe 24 folks in so far, so we've got a handful of folks left.
Like just over half an hour left in this individual's heat.
Yeah, I'm trying to look around and see how folks are doing.
Yeah, pretty good progress.
Yeah, I'd say a good chunk of these folks are going to finish on time, maybe all of them.
Kara Walker on the windows.
It's interesting. She has a puzzle stand. It's that blue thing by her name there. And competitors are allowed to bring things to hold up the box top. But she's not using it.
She's not even looking at the top at all. She's just looking. I mean, I think when you get down to that's kind of what we were talking about, where you just have to look at the patterns and shapes of the pieces and fitting in the right piece at that point. Kara is a middle school teacher.
All right. I wonder if she brings puzzles to class.
I don't know. This is also her first puzzle competition, and she actually didn't even know competitive puzzling existed until she heard about it a week ago. So she just signed up.
That's amazing. I wonder how she heard about it.
She's here with us now.
That is great. And so this is continually the story, right? It's events like these that cause news coverage, like we've seen, that make people aware that these events exist. Like, this is a thing. You can come out and compete in something that you didn't know was a thing. And maybe you're a passionate puzzler and you're like, hey, I could actually give that a try. And this is a perfect opportunity to give that a try.
Great job, Kara. I hope
nice
some
job.
of your students are watching and proud of you. You were able to finish it.
All right, we got, there's a little cheer for her, it sounds like. Yeah, it's interesting, depending on the competition, the finishing can be really quiet. So at the Northwest Nationals a few weeks ago, people were finishing and nobody clapped, nobody cheered, nobody knew anything. So as other people who were still competing were like, maybe I'm still first because I haven't heard anybody finish. But other competitions, they're just loud. When somebody finishes, they pound the table. People cheer loudly. So it's quite the variety of things.
Is that Jessica Chow who just finished?
No, Jessica finished.
Oh,
looks like back
I'm way
a
off.
while ago.
Let's see. Are our tables off here?
You should talk to the person who put together the chart.
Let's see. Stephanie Vargas. Stephanie's going to be competing in the duo prelims later today as well.
Oh, that's right. So she has participated at nationals. I knew that name sounded familiar to me. She competed in the individuals, pairs, and teams. at the last nationals, as well as she was at the regional competition a few weeks back. So she gets around. She gets into those competitions. She travels to go see how she can do it. Places like nationals in San Diego. Like, I don't want to speak for her, but I will speak for me. Like we go to events like that knowing that we're not particularly going to be competitive because it's still a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to be in a competitive scene that we can actually compete in, where me and my wife are not particularly athletic, so that's not an area we compete. And it's also great. It's a great community. We meet lots of great people. People are very friendly. So it is we find that it is worth making the trip. So we go down to San Diego. We've gone to, there's a big competition in St. Paul during January. And who doesn't want to be in St. Paul in January?
Yeah, I mean, why not? Hopefully it's inside.
It is inside. It's part of their winter festival, which, if you're going to be in St. Paul in January, you got to make a festival out of it. And so that particular competition is inside, so you don't need like gloves, like fingerless gloves or anything like that.
Your fingers go numb while you're trying to put together the puzzle.
That's right. It'd be part of the competition.
Yeah.
But it is one of the biggest competitions in the United States, if not the biggest competition. And so you get, I don't know, several hundred teams of 4 show up and compete over the course of a few days. And it's a great experience. The venues are nice. St. Paul is actually quite a nice town to be in. So traveling for puzzling can be a lot of fun.
And I love Stephanie said, what she lacks in speed, she makes up for in unbridled enthusiasm.
That's awesome.
So kind of what you're talking about, it's just fun. It's fun to travel for puzzling.
It is. There she goes.
Yep.
Nice
and
job.
she's done.
All right. So I can see around the room, we've got a person actually who's doing some shape sorting like we were talking about earlier. So maybe if we get a chance to look at that at some point, we can see how that tactic sort of gets approached. Seeing a lot of windows, but there's a couple of folks who just have random assortment of spaces left, which is interesting.
We're looking at Olivia Lorimore right now. She's working on those windows.
Mm-hmm. I was watching some competition a while back, and I want to say, I can't remember where it was, but everybody had finished except for a couple of older ladies, and they were just doing their thing, and the live stream was just enamored by this, couple of old ladies just plunking away. I don't think they finished, or if they did, they only did just in the time. But they were unfazed by any of it. They were just going to keep moving and doing their thing.
I mean, it's all about completing the puzzle, right?
Oh, look at you. This is not your first rodeo.
I mean, you set me up perfectly.
There we go. There's the shape sorting that I was talking about. At least it looks like it's shape sorting.
Yep, that's what I do.
Yeah, you can see that just to her left, right of the puzzle is a bunch of where all 4 sides looks like they're inside innies, if you will. People call them by various names. But yeah, so she has them so that she can just look and say, okay, well, I know I'm looking for this kind of piece. These kind of pieces right here. I'm going to just look in those 6 or 8 pieces to find the one I need.
Let's see. We just had finishing here Deanna Gelke. So I think
Okay.
that's Sarah's mom.
That's what I was gonna
I'm not sure
say.
if I'm pronouncing the last name right, and I apologize if I'm not.
Yeah,
Need like a phonetic spelling of all these names.
exactly. I came to terms with the fact that I'm just going to horribly butcher people's names, and I apologize. But
I know. I like to use mnemonics, so I tell everyone when I meet them, my name is Alania, like Albania without the B. I think it's very helpful.
that is helpful.
Yeah. Okay, we're back on Olivia. She's still working on those windows.
Yeah.
I liked her hand there. She was kind of like, oh, which
Yeah.
one do I do next? I don't know what to do.
And you can see she's using the box as the box holder, which is typically what I do. And she's got a couple of sorting trays there.
Yep.
So if you're not familiar with sorting trays, they allow you to put some things however you want to use them, but like put some things that are roughly the conceptually the same for you, whether they're the same color or the same pattern or they represent part of the same piece of puzzle. And you might have several of those, and you can sort of stack them on top of each other or move them around the board without having to pick up a whole bunch of pieces.
Yep.
Make it a lot easier for you to kind of move chunks of the puzzle around and keep your space organized. If you're not used to using them, they can be distracting. They can be hard to use,
Yep.
especially if you've got things stacked. You might forget that the bottom of the stack has something in it. Not speaking from personal experience or anything.
So you mentioned puzzle sorters, and I may have mentioned earlier that my sister and I like to sort together. So when I first got really into puzzling, I was really frustrated because I couldn't find puzzle sorters that I liked and that fit right on our table.
Oh.
And so we actually created our own line of puzzle sorters that are in a bit of a hexagonal shape. So when
Oh,
you lay
yeah.
them out, they kind of fit together, and you can fit them so they will work around your puzzle
That is
versus the
amazing.
kind that she had were the big rectangles, which
Yep.
end up taking a lot of space on your table.
Yeah.
So if anyone's looking for some puzzle sorters, you can find them at completingthepuzzle.com.
Oh, that's great.
But
I might be looking for some
spent a
puzzle
lot
sorters.
of time and effort, and typically when you buy them, you only get 6. To me, that just wasn't enough sorting. So ours, comes with a few more.
Nice.
So yeah, it was very specific. Since I was such an avid sorter, I went and created puzzle sorter that was specific to my puzzling needs.
I love that you guys, you and your husband are just so like puzzle nerdy. You're like, you know what? I have a puzzle problem. I'm going to turn this into a solution.
Hey, I mean, that's we in our prior life, we were both tech nerds and worked in finding problems to solve with tech
Yeah.
and software. So it kind of makes sense. If we see a problem to solve, we're going to try to solve it.
That's right. It's just a habit for you. You're like, well, this is bothering me, therefore I should solve it.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully it's a problem for other people as well, not just us.
It'd be tough to make a business if you can't
Yeah.
do that part. So are they available in fashion colors?
They're all orange.
Okay.
So not different colors, just all orange. But yeah.
I know some folks like to have a variety of colors because it helps them keep track of what things
Yeah.
are in what.
So it was actually interesting. The reason why we did orange, and this may sound odd, but it's a color that, like, some of them that we would get would be black or white, or it
Yeah.
just became, but the pieces would kind of blend in.
That's right. Yeah.
So this was also a very specific choice. And the orange, like this puzzle is actually a bad example because there is a decent amount of orange, but looking across all the puzzles, orange is actually not a very popular color.
It's true.
And
yeah.
especially the color of orange that our sorters are. So it's actually like, especially the darker pieces really stand out in the sorter.
That's great.
Kind of interesting to things that you think about.
Yeah,
when
I was going
you're
to say
creating
that.
these
I
things.
love that. That's a well thought through product, right? You're not just like I need small things. You're like I need small things. They need to be organizable on my table in a reasonable way. They
Yep.
need to be color contrasting against most puzzle piece types. It's not just solving the problem, but it's solving the problem's problems. I know some people bring like a craft board that you can find at like craft stores, but one side is black and the other is white for
Yep.
exactly the reason you mentioned, is
Yep.
that if you have too many, if you're working on something with a lot of black, you flip it over to the white side and you put it on there.
Looks
All
like
right.
that piece sorting was working out for her.
Yeah, it looks like she completed all the pieces on the left-hand side there. Now you got me doing it.
Can't stop it.
No, can't stop, won't stop.
Nope. Yeah, so she's now moving on to the notorious windows.
That's right.
I can't wait to see what the next puzzle for the next heat's going to be. It's so interesting because I think, you mentioned it earlier, but it really is kind of just a luck of the draw what puzzle you get if you're in these heats to qualify for the finals.
That's right.
Especially according to what your particular affinity and talent is.
Hey. Yeah, and you'll see that a fair amount where somebody just crushes a puzzle in one heat and then is crushed by the puzzle in the next
Yeah.
heat. It really it can matter a lot, and that's why if you want to do this at a high level, you're doing all the things you hate because you don't want to be crushed by a puzzle.
And that was Katrina Klossner, who just finished.
I think that brings us down to 6 people left. 6, 2, 4,
Yep.
5.
6, I think 6,
All right.
yeah. We're down to the last 6, 20, just under 25 minutes left to go in this heat. So yeah, making good time. Yeah, I'm really digging the music. It's quite the change from those really quiet venues.
Yeah, I feel like at our regular league, they had to stop playing Neil Diamond because everybody just stop and sing.
It's like Sweet Caroline.
Exactly right.
chorus
I think
comes
that
on
was
and
exactly
everything.
the song. Everybody just stops and they start singing along. And like you want people to have a good time, but you also need them to get out by a certain time.
It is a competition. It's now the competition of who can focus the best.
Right.
All right, and let's see. We are back on Chanel King. And she's been puzzling for about 2 years. She got started puzzling after she won a puzzle in Japan. So that's not something you hear every day.
No. Where's the grandma in that story?
I know. Maybe the grandma took her to Japan? I don't know. So she does say she loves 300 to 500 piece count. So this is kind of right in her sweet spot of what she likes for piece count.
Oh, that is great.
But yeah, so she says she lived in Japan for 8 years and got her start doing Japanese puzzles.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we're in this competition. We're definitely looking at like your standard. I'm going to say cardboard, but I know that it's got a special kind of cardboard. It's called puzzle board.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to my podcast episode on Peace Talks with Lane Weatherly, the organizer of this competition, they talk a lot about puzzle production, which I learned a ton. But the fact that they use a special kind of board backer here was one of those things. But there are definitely other kinds of puzzles. The most common other puzzle that people do are wooden puzzles. And I don't know if you've ever tried to put together a wooden puzzle. I imagine you've come across a few in
Yep.
your... They are a whole different beast, in my
Yes.
opinion.
Yes, they are.
I
Odd shapes and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're great. They have what are called whimsies typically, which are like cutouts of like something thematically appropriate to the puzzle. Like if you've got a Wild West puzzle, it might have like some of the pieces might be in the shape of a cowboy or a snake or something like that. And those are great. They're lots of fun. But people do speed puzzling competitions with those. That is not my area of expertise. I'm not a particularly fast regular puzzler. Even less fast when you get to wooden puzzles.
So, Rob, can you tell people who may be watching where they can find your podcast if they're interested in learning more and listening more to puzzling?
Absolutely. You can find Peace Talks, spelled Piece, Talks, pretty much anywhere you can get podcasts. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on Spotify. It's pretty much everywhere you can find it. I've done a handful of episodes so far, but talking to folks like Andrea Ping was the first person I talked to, but I've talked to a couple of other sort of national and international winners. I talked to Ali Krasny, who's one of the founders of the USA Jigsaw Puzzle Association. I talked to Yvonne Foyt, who was the first in the Nationals a few years ago. Obviously, as I said, I've talked to Lane about what goes on to create a puzzle competition. So I'm looking really at through the lens of what does competitive speed puzzling look like? Who are the players, like the not just the people who compete, but the people who make the competitions happen, and how do those work? What do they think about? How do they do their things? So it's a pretty deep dive into the world of speed puzzling. And like I said, coming up, we're going to do something on puzzle chess. So we'll be investigating other things that people do in terms of jigsaw puzzles, using jigsaw puzzles competitively. It was mostly born out of an idea of me wanting to talk to the people who are doing great and understand how they became great to see if I could do that. It hasn't worked out in that respect, but we are having a lot of really deep and interesting conversations about how to go about jigsaw puzzling and what it's like to work on the national stage. Like, what is it? How do you calm your nerves if you're competing at international competition? So it's been really great so far.
And just a little while ago, we had Renata Turta and Jason Sprague, I believe, complete their puzzles. So they both are finishing. And we have just under...
Sprague, I think. Jason Sprague.
Thanks.
That's my guess.
So just under 20 minutes left now, and we are down to 4 competitors left in this individual preliminaries Heat 1.
And for those of you who are tuning into this rather than the Olympics, good choice. I know that there's been some talk. I cannot tell how serious it is to try and get speed puzzling into as an Olympic event. It seems like it would fit in the old, like when the Olympics were revived and there were like arts and architecture as part of that. Not sure it quite fits into the modern Olympics, but I'm all for anywhere where we can get more people exposed to the idea.
I think, I think there's a lot of kind of alternative type of sports in the Olympics today. I don't know if you have Peacock, but I've been watching Peacock, and they have the gold, I forget what it's called, gold something, and it basically just cycles through the different events all day.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
And it's fascinating because you're exposed to events that you would never see otherwise.
What is something that caught your attention unexpectedly?
I mean, I know everyone's into it now because our women just won the bronze, but they were airing women's rugby quite a bit. And I may be really ignorant, but I didn't know that there was women's rugby in the Olympics, which is very embarrassing. And oh my gosh, those women are amazing.
Yeah.
So that was super fun and got me exposed to that and into it for the first time.
Anytime people are working at the highest end of something, whether it be a sport or a game or something like puzzling, I just love watching that. I love seeing that people who have achieved the pinnacle in some area.
Yep, I was watching archery. That was quite fascinating. Looks like some of the women had Band-Aids on their chins from, I guess, where they pull the, I don't know the terminology in archery, I apologize, but from where they pull it back, I guess
like the string,
it hits there, and they have to actually tape their face to keep it protected.
I have long believed that a sport is anything that requires its own piece of clothing. And so whether it be shoes or a swimsuit or like a glove, so we need to figure out what jigsaw puzzling, speed puzzling's piece of clothing is so that we can officially call it a sport in my definition.
I think we're seeing a lot of people in these amazing puzzling outfits. We're seeing this awesome puzzling t-shirt right now. So maybe that's enough.
Yeah, well then runway shows become a sport, which, maybe they are.
Yeah, so this is Olivia Lorimore again, and she has this great shirt. Maybe it's for her pairs later for the Puzzling Pixies.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to see, but...
It does seem very pixie-ish now that you've mentioned it.
It does seem very pixie-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that we had to figure out as my wife and I as a pair and then as a broader team is how to get through what I call the trough of despair, which is like you start off and you've got edges, you're doing the things that make obvious sense to you, you're going, you're making great choices and things come together, and then you hit the stuff that is hard, and it can be emotionally crushing. Especially in a competition where other people are finishing around you and you're just like, I don't know what the next piece is. So we have had to work explicitly on how do we keep our energy up? How do we keep our attitudes positive? We had to institute a no negative table talk rule on our team because it's really easy to be like, this is terrible. I hate this. Everything is going wrong. And that can be infectious.
Yes.
We even did a thing for a while. Well, we did it once. My team humored me where once we hit the trough of despair, anybody who put a piece in would make some sort of noise when they put a piece in so that we could all hear that we were still making progress.
Boom!
Yeah, exactly right. Like, we all felt silly doing it, but it was sort of helpful in terms of being like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not doing anything, but at least other people on my team are doing things, and then I can add to that noise from time to time.
Yeah, it's like when you see sales teams and they ring the gong whenever
That's
they make
right.
a sale.
That's right. We just need a little bell we can ring every time we put a piece in once we've hit the trough of despair. The good news is that usually, like sometimes you're just like the trough of despair takes you all the way to the end because some puzzles are just like that. But usually there's another side of it where you're like, okay, we've come out of the hard parts. What are left are the obvious pieces that go in, and then you hit the fast, zippy, exhilarating. I'm going to put pieces in as fast as I can at the end, and it's nice to have that if you're going to have to slog through the emotionally crippling parts of it.
We've got Chanel. Olivia, sorry. Oh, so many people today.
We're only just begun.
I know. Gonna have to have another coffee before the heat too.
All right, Olivia.
All right, and she is done.
Nice.
Great job.
Yeah, and listen to the applause, right? I don't know how many people she knows here, but I bet you most of these people don't know who she is, and they're just cheering along because they like to see people complete, right? That's the way the
Yeah.
community is.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these people are showing up. They're probably competing in Heat 2 or later today. I saw some people wearing their team shirts. So
Yeah, I love that team shirts are a thing in competitive jigsaw puzzling. We got a missing
great.
piece here.
Oh no, Chanel, find that piece.
Nice,
And
she
she's
did.
got it. Great job. Great job.
Nice job.
We're down to
Look how happy she is. That's the way that I feel often when I'm finished. Just finishing, right? It's an accomplishment in and of itself. Like, good. I was able to get that done. And like I said, often I'm just looking to complete before the time ends. And so often that's an achievement.
Yep.
It's like,
We're down to our last puzzler now, Jose Vargas.
oh yeah, part of a team.
Yep, he's the other half of Penny
Stephanie?
Can. Stephanie finished a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they competed in the pairs at the US JPA competition about 6 months ago, I think it was, and also in the Northwest Regionals competition.
Mm-hmm.
So looks like they've been pretty active this year in speed puzzling.
Yeah, and with the addition of the Portland Jigsaw Masters, there are increasingly more options for people to compete. So there are increasingly regional competitions, state competitions. So if you are a person who enjoys it, it's becoming easier and easier. You don't have to do the kind of traveling to, St. Paul or San Diego or Spain just to compete in a high-end competition. They're popping up all over the place. So it's great to have the Portland Jigsaw Masters as sort of an anchor in the middle of the time from when nationals are, or at least were this time, through to when the worlds are in September. It's good to have these kinds of anchors so that people can get out and try some things. And then if you're interested in doing jigsaw puzzling, like speed puzzling, but you're maybe concerned about doing it in a live setting, or you're concerned about you just don't have access to it, there's not that community in your area, there's a vibrant online speed puzzling community, speedpuzzling.com being the kind of primary version of that. And so all they do, you sign up, they ship you a puzzle, and you join a live Zoom call, and they run the competition just like this, but you can do it in the safety and table size of your own home, whatever table size you have. Some people compete on the floor, so you can do the puzzle however you want without having to go somewhere, without having to be amongst a whole bunch of other people, just to find out whether or not you're excited to do that. So I think increasingly, if you are a person who might be interested in speed puzzling, there are a lot of different ways that you can explore that at whatever level of comfort that you have.
Yeah, and Jonathan, who runs speedpuzzling.com, is just wonderful. So highly, recommend checking that out if that's something that you're looking at maybe trying and not sure that you want to make the investment yet of traveling to an in-person event. There's not, any meetups in your area or anything in your area. it's a great way to get started.
Yeah, and lots of the people that we see today have competed in a virtual competition at least once. Many of the people at the top here are people who show up all the time, but a lot of people got their start in competition by doing it online because they could do it, in their house without having to go find something else, and determined that they were actually pretty good and decided they wanted to compete in a live setting, or that they just had a good time and wanted to compete in a live setting. So I would say if you're not sure if competing live is for you, definitely look up the virtual competitions. They're great.
All right, we've got just under 10 minutes left. Jose is still working on this puzzle.
He's got it.
He's decided to go for the windows next.
I know. I wonder if that'll slow him down, or if this is like he will get the windows done and then he will speed up from there. Yeah, I need to spend more time thinking about slowing down my puzzling so that I can get more on-screen time. So, when you're the last person left, when we go to competitions, and hopefully you'll see this in our team's competition, we have the requisite shirts and whatnot, but we have picked colors so that when elite people take pictures of themselves completing stuff, you see us in the background, obviously. So, we're bright pink. So every shot that you see of some large competition space, you can usually easily pick us out. So we may never be famous for being fast at jigsaw puzzling, but we're famous adjacent. You'll find us in the pictures of the people who are really good.
That sounds like a really, really good plan.
Yeah, if you can't beat them, be in the background of their celebrity shots or their celebration shots.
We have people coming in now for the second heat, which is going to start at... We'll be back on the live stream at 1:25 Pacific time. So according to where you are, do the math. Time zones are hard. But yeah, 1:25 Pacific time. We'll be back here with individual preliminaries heat 2. And we'll have a brand new puzzle, totally different puzzle, no one's seen before. So that'll be fun. Not to give away too much, but it's actually going to be by a different puzzle company. So, surprise! You'll have to join us back at 1:25 Pacific time to find out what company that is and what puzzle it is. So make sure that you join us back in just a little while for that individual preliminaries heat 2. And yeah, I'm excited to see what that puzzle is.
I love the effort of secrecy that has to go into competitive jigsaw puzzling. It's not like, if you're going to run the 100-meter hurdles in track, like nobody's keeping those hurdles secret from you. They're just showing you the, you have to actually, in this case, we don't know what the puzzle is. That's part of the process, is that you just kind of wait and it shows up. And so there's a lot of process that goes into keeping these puzzles, like, so that people can't see them, they can't find out what they are, so that everybody has the same level of exposure. Not all puzzles are brand new puzzles when they're used, so sometimes people do get an advantage because they've done that puzzle before. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, especially in the bigger competitions, they like to bring out a new puzzle that nobody has seen. So I know that the last Nationals, they announced who the artists would be in advance. And so people were sort of guessing as to what kinds of puzzles they would be and which puzzles would show up when. And so people, as puzzles came out and people did them, they knew what was left. And so everybody got excited that they knew what the next artist would be. And they already knew in advance if they liked or didn't if they were compatible or not with that artist's style. So anyway, it's just fun to watch the whole kind of air of mystery that hangs out over the top of all of the jigsaw competitions. I know that, like, with the Nationals, like the team or the company that sponsors that, Ravensburger, like, they have a whole team that shows up, and part of what they do is they try and make it so that nobody could possibly see what's going on. So it takes a village to pull off a competition like this.
Okay, and this is super exciting. So we have the Puzzled Republic with us.
Hello.
Yeah. You want to
Hi.
introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Luke. I am one half of the Puzzle Republic.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about what y'all do, how you got started in puzzling?
I would love to. Yeah, so the Puzzle Republic has evolved over the last 5 years. My wife got addicted to puzzles because she needed a stress relief from work, and so our closet and our home got filled with many puzzles and puzzle boxes. And I was taking them to Goodwill and dumping them off and giving them away. And I was like, there has to be a better solution to just giving these puzzles away to people at Goodwill. And we were taking a walk around our neighborhood and we saw one of those free little book libraries. I was like, why don't we make those for Jigsaw puzzles? And so we hired a carpenter to take a plastic Barbie hotel and turn it into our first puzzle library. And that was in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And the neighborhood just loved it during the pandemic because everyone was, at home doing puzzles, buying puzzles. And then we decided to make a few more around Los Angeles, Southern California. And we started to say, like, hey, there's actually more people out in the world than just us making these. Why don't we make a website to make a directory for all of them so people across the country can find them wherever they are. And then we also made some instructions to help people build their own and maintain it. And so that was the origins of the Puzzle Republic.
Cool. And can you tell us a little bit about what you're wearing?
Yes, I am wearing one of my wife's designs, a Star Spangled Puzzle banner t-shirt, I guess. And we are selling here all of her designs, t-shirts, leggings, mugs, hats. We even got some Christmas ornaments over there. So we basically sell everything but puzzles. Yeah.
I know that we saw in the back of some of the shots when we were looking over there, some of the leggings that you guys have set out, and they are instantly eye-catching.
Yeah. We do see that puzzlers love eye-catching, colorful, rainbow-colored puzzles, and so we kind of leaned into that, and a lot of the designs are very, very vibrant.
Right, so it allows them to express in what they're wearing and what they like to do in terms of the puzzles that they like to engage with.
And a lot of the designs have just text on them, like, I'm an introvert, but I like to puzzle. Or puzzles well with others. Like, the puzzle community, I think we're all a little introverted, a lot of us are, and the puzzles help say who we are inside. Yeah.
Awesome. And, we've been talking a lot about the Olympics that are going on right now. Your shirt, is...
Today was a great day to bring out the red, white, and blue to support the Olympians and everything happening in Paris.
Yeah, it's great. We love it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
A little bit about what all the viewers who are watching us, a little bit about what y'all do.
Yeah, this is so exciting, the live stream.
Yeah, it's so fun. And we've got just under 2 minutes left. Jose is here.
Go, Jose.
I want to say I think we have like 9 puzzle libraries here in Portland.
Yes, Portland, I think, of all the cities, even in Canada, I think Portland has the most per capita of puzzle libraries, let alone just amazing libraries in general. Yeah. Like there's the Dino Library and there's like the Keychain Library. Like you guys have so many cool libraries in Portland. It's really amazing. We hope Jessica and I can go out and like walk around and see some in person.
Yeah, we've definitely visited a few around here, and some people have pretty robust ways of maintaining their libraries, like intake processes and making sure that all the pieces are and then put them back. So kudos to anybody who not just puts up one of those puzzle libraries, but goes through all the effort to make sure that everybody has a great experience with them.
Yeah. I will, if we have time, I'll say one more thing about puzzle libraries. If you want to start your own, you can buy wooden library boxes from Etsy or from your local craftsman. But I just found out that if you buy a doghouse that's made of plastic or PVC, it's only about $60 to start your own puzzle library. So the barrier to entry is very low now.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks again.
You're welcome.
All right,
Do you want to hang out for the next 30 seconds?
Yeah,
Final 30
seconds left. Okay. Lane is up here. He's about ready to call it. Are we going to have a countdown?
We might.
Okay.
All right, guys, we have about 15 seconds to go.
Yeah. We're down to 10.
All right, we're going to count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 hours.
And that's
All right.
time.
And
Great
there we go.
job.
The
Great
first
job.
heat of the individuals is in the bag.
All right.
Man.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
And that's it. If you want to join us, we'll be back here at 1:25 Pacific time for the individual preliminaries Heat 2. Thanks for joining us for individual preliminaries Heat 1. Try to say that 3 times fast. Thanks so much, Rob.
Yeah, thank you, Elena. It's been great talking to you. I'm looking forward to the next couple of rounds.
Yeah, thanks.